Welcome to the Human Conversation Podcast with Jules White, the real dragon slayer, author and entrepreneur's sales coach. Tune in weekly for human conversation about business and sales. Enjoy business expert interviews, educational episodes, and virtual cuppas with entrepreneur business owners. So grab yourself a cuppa and enjoy. Here is your host, Jules White.
So welcome everybody to the Human Conversation. I've got such a wonderful man with me today. He is one of my Fab Four. And if anyone who joins us on Clubhouse joins us, they're going to know who this is. This is the amazing Kevin D. Turner. And if you don't join us on Clubhouse, you're going to find out a lot about this guy. He's fabulous, as I like to say. That's why we say Fab Four, because we're fabulous. But he is the managing partner of TNT Brand Strategist. Now, I think I've introduced you very well there, Kevin. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I appreciate it. Jules, it's an honor to be here. I am always just amazed, Dragon Slayer, TEDxer, sales champion, right? Somebody who believes that it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And it should be. And I love sales as well. I love marketing. I love branding. It all comes together with me. And I enjoy people who have the energy and the love for sales, because so many people are either afraid of it, right? Yeah. Or they don't like it. It has a reputation, but it's really is a very natural human thing to sell.
It really
and
is.
If you do it in the right way, it's not wrong. So
that's so true.
I love that. I love that.
So I want to find out all about Kevin D. Turner today, as I want my listeners to. And we're going to start at the place I normally start with people, because I'm always curious. What was it that you wanted to do, Kevin, when you left school or when you left education?
Or when education left me? No.
Education definitely left me.
I always wanted to do kind of what I'm doing and what I've done throughout my career. And, what I studied in school, I went to University of Texas in Austin, Texas. I went to the McCombs Business School, and I studied marketing and sales management. And so those were my majors, and truly was an incredible experience. But I knew going in, that's what I was going to do going forward. And it's interesting when you think about where does that seed come from, right? And for me, it was my father. And when we were really little kids, he would set us out in the living room in this kind of little semicircle, or four of us, right? And he would do flip chart presentations that he was going to go and give to Congress to get large appropriations for the company he worked for. And he was also an artist, and so to me, I loved that he had this blend of marketing and sales and interaction, right? And kind of this, he was so excited to do it, to present it, that you fell in love with whatever he was presenting. And, it was kind of funny as a kid being the audience, because I'm eating it up. I don't know if my brothers and sisters thought the same thing. I looked forward to that time. It usually was on a Sunday. And it's what really kind of set the gears in motion. So I always really knew what I wanted to be. And, I focused on that. And the other piece of it is I'm a techie. I love technology. So I knew it was going to be sales marketing in technology. And that kind of set the process. And that's why that was what I studied in college, and, set my targets and was able to land with the technology company right out of college, at a time in Texas where the economy was not good, where the McDonald's down the end of the street, they called it the drag, right in front of the school, actually said, now hiring petroleum engineers and marketing majors. And that was the McDonald's. So, it was just a really tough time, but I knew what I wanted. I'd already set the groundwork before. And actually, this was in high school. I targeted the companies that I wanted to work for, and I sent them letters. And one of those companies was Sony in Japan. And they responded back with, why don't you come over during a summer? And this was right before my senior year. Why don't you come over and we're going to put you to work in what we call kind of a experiential marketing program. And so that's what I did. And so I saved money. I mowed yards. I did washed cars. I got my way there. My parents helped as well. And once I was there, the experience was incredible. So I went out and my first project was what they call the Walkabout, which became the Walkman.
Oh,
so this
wow.
was before it launched here in the States. Yeah.
I had one of those.
Oh, and you think about it, that changed the world because now we walk around, right, and listen to our own audio all the time.
Yeah.
But before that, you didn't do that. That was kind of weird, right? If you sat and you put headphones on and you listen to your audio, you were antisocial, right? Something's wrong with that person. Now it is just, that's the way we do things. And sometimes now we got to remember to take the earbuds out.
Yeah.
But to me, it was incredible because what they basically did is they gave you maps and they told you where all the best music stores were. And they gave you a little bit of money and they said, go and buy the music that you like, right? Put the Walkman on, and then we're going to have you go to, let's say, this park or this area where the youth hang out, right? People your age hang out. And what we want you to do is share what you're doing. And it was really funny because we thought, oh, this is going to be really awkward and strange. But when we got there, people were looking, right? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And so, you would put your headphones on them and they're like, oh, this is incredible. And, that started that whole process for me and about how marketing and sales and all that stuff is so personal, right?
Yeah.
It's put that headset on them, let them see and hear what you are going through, what you see and those kind of things. And kind of, I guess, began that share. Once I was through college, I targeted that same organization, Sony Corporation, and just kept pounding on them to get an opportunity. And that opportunity happened to be in Irving, Texas, which is near the big DFW airport. And that's where I started. So I started as kind of like a brochure delivery guy. And I think they created the position for me. They were like, you take the brochures out to all the major retailers and tell them how to use the product. And that's where my career began. So
Kevin, do you know, there's a few things you've said. Obviously, I resonate with the fact that you were clearly inspired by your father, by the sounds of it. I was very inspired by my father, as you know, because I grew up in a sweet shop, so a little bit different. However,
that's fantastic.
Amazing. But a real similarity is that I would watch my father, just like you watched your father. And rather than dad presenting, he was just talking to his customers in the shop. And for me, that's where I learned what sales was all about. So that's where I fell in love with the whole sales thing. So I love that you actually knew what you wanted to do right from the beginning, because many of my guests started as quite obscure and random things from school, or took degrees that they never really wanted to take, and then took a very different course in their career. So it's quite fascinating that you actually started and stayed in this same lane, if you like, in your career. And the second thing I wanted to ask you about was, did you actually go out to Japan, did I hear you say?
Yes.
Which is just wonderful. So, and you were quite
young.
As
a teenager too, in high school, to do that, it was an adventure, and I love adventures. I grew up, my father is English, my mother is Irish Canadian, and I was first generation American. We grew up traveling as kids. We lived in Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, United States. I actually had 3 high schools in 3 different states in the United States, if you could imagine that. Maryland, DC, and then New Jersey, and then Texas. And if I could have thrown California in there, I would have had the most bizarre mix of everything, right? But to me, it was always very normal and natural to go somewhere else and to experience that. And I've never felt insecure about it. I've always been excited about it. And sometimes that, excitement, you got to realize it's not fear, it's something else, and you embrace it. And, I've always enjoyed that experience, just kind of being the new person around, and kind of absorbing and seeing and relating. And, that's always been a big passion of mine.
I think it's really interesting that my perspective is that I have very rarely left the UK, and I've been a big home girl. I've gone to a few Mediterranean places for sunny holidays. I've been to America once for the very first time when I was 51 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. How ridiculous. And I went to Boston, which I
But
loved.
there's something beautiful in that too. And I've always, the longest I've ever been anywhere right now has been Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And, it's been 20 something years. There's something exotic about knowing exactly where the grocery store is.
Yeah,
because for me, everything was always new and you were always trying to figure it out. And here it's just something very different about it. And I enjoy that too. And interesting enough, I have many friends that have kind of both experiences, right? They've either lived their whole life here, or, they've been one of these that have traveled and lived in many places. And, both have an incredible, I guess, experience with those. So I always thought, and I look back and, I thought, well, maybe I got cheated a little bit by moving around so much. One of the things I think is just incredible today is the connectivity that you can keep digitally, right?
Yeah.
So back then, you might have had a pen pal, right? A friend you left in Jersey or something like that, or in Sweden, and you might be able to write back and forth a little bit. You couldn't afford the phone bills, right? So that was it. There was no Zoom. The digital connectivity now is incredible. It has made the world smaller. And I think because of that, people should have a little more adventure in their souls, right? And go out and experience new things, because they can always get back, you can always come back, but you can also always stay connected with all of that. Whereas before it was very difficult to do. And I think that's the best thing that's come out of the internet.
Oh, I think so too. And I think one of the things is that the bigger world is not such a mystery because of that connectivity. So whilst I obviously have never been over to your neck of the woods, to where you are in the US, I feel like it exists more because of our connectivity online. Whereas before, I wouldn't have necessarily even thought about it because it was far too far away. It was probably on a map in an atlas, which was a book.
Yeah.
I sound so ancient, don't I, Kevin?
No, you're not.
But it's also interesting how quickly in such a short period we have become that smaller world and so connected. It's quite fascinating, isn't it?
Well, that was the one gift I think that 2020 gave us, because it took away a lot of things. But the one gift it gave us was digital transformation to the extreme, right? Yeah. Everybody who didn't do it before was really kind of forced into it. And many people fell in love with it and figured it out and said, this is really, really cool, And now I think that's the biggest issue right now is people don't want to go back to the way it was anymore, where everybody was talking about, I want to get back to the new normal, right? Or whatever it was. I want to get back to that. Now it's like, I can't go back to that. Things are very different, but they're better in a sense, So I think that's what's leading to all these people resigning and now trying something else.
Yeah.
Trying entrepreneurship, continuing with their work from home, that whole thing has just really, I think, changed so many lives, I think in a very positive way outside of, I know it's also ruined many lives too,
of course,
but that positive effect, the silver lining out of it, really excited about that because I've always been somebody who connected digitally very well, but not everybody was receptive to it.
No, not everybody was ready like you might.
Yeah.
But the other side of it for me, Kevin, is that whilst I have connected beautifully digitally, and I can, and I love it, I now have a craving to travel and meet these people, really meet them in real life.
But isn't that neat? Because that's a connected world.
Yeah.
Because before, you would just imagine what those people were like, right? Or you might meet somebody in your neighborhood who was from somewhere else and it was kind of a neat experience. Now you've got this desire to go see them in their home, right? Where they are. And I think that is incredible. And to me, it may be the biggest thing to create a peaceful world, right?
I hope so.
Because we all get so connected now.
Yeah.
And tragedy is tragedy. We don't put up with it like we might have if we never saw it or never met anybody from that area. It was something else. It was another area, right? It was another part of the world. It's not my business. Now it's our business.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So I love that part of it. So
yeah, me too. So we've come right from when you were kind of watching your father presenting through all of your high school and knowing that where you started is really where you are now. But now I want to talk about where you are now. So actually, we talked about TNT Brand Strategist. What is all that about then, Kevin?
It really kind of culminated because throughout my career, I actually had probably 6 pivots in my career. Some were forced upon me. Some I made decisions to make, right? And this was one of those. It was really an option to keep doing things that you're doing or do something different. And I had just come out of an opportunity. I was turning around an international division of the American Heart Association. I took them from accidentally being in other countries to having a footprint in 140 countries. We built offices in Hong Kong, United Arab Emirates, in Belgium, in Puerto Rico to service Latin America, and hired staff and grew that. But I was traveling 80% of my month, raising a family, having a relationship with my wife. I was traveling 80% of my month, home sometimes one weekend of that month. And when you're home, you're on Shenzhen time, right? Or Belgian time or whatever it was. It wasn't on your time anymore because your clock was just really messed up. So what you wanted to do was sleep, and that didn't help. And so took a step away from that and just said, what can we do together that we both enjoy? And that's really what we do now. And that's kind of organizational and personal branding, helping people realize, what are those values they bring to the table? And then how do you express that so others understand it and others basically demand it, right? And so, it was kind of a perfect wave and an opportunity to kind of step into pure entrepreneurship in that sense and kind of move it forward. And I did a lot of consulting in between when we started, and Dana did as well. And then finally, because we've been doing this for about 10 years, finally, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, it was full on. This is what we do. And we absolutely love it. Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about it. You can wake up every morning and nobody can tell you to go home, right? You are the boss. Yeah. If you don't make any money, nobody pays you, which is the bad side. Yeah. You are everything. I know you've got a couple extra people. We're keeping it very tight because we like that, but you're everything. You're the accountant. You're the marketing person. You're right. You're sales development. You're also the person who's going to implement the services. And so that kind of craziness is not for everybody. And but the rewards, if it is for you, if you can get in and enjoy that and know at some point you can take it in other directions, it's incredible. Yeah. I mean, it is just an amazing, step in life. And, I loved it. Different experiences moving up to that, but
I think one of the really lovely things is that you had that realization that you needed to make a change. And I think sometimes people do actually just carry on, even though they might realize it, and they don't make the courageous move to make that change. So I think that's actually something to commend you for, because that's the brave bit, is actually saying, right, I'm going to change this. And becoming an entrepreneur is also the brave bit, I think, too.
Well, I couldn't do it without an incredible partner. So, well, I mean, that's the amazing part too. And
well, that's, I was just going to say, so you've talked about we, and we heard Dana mentioned. So come on, who's the partner, the managing partner who works with you? Tell us about her.
Incredible, beautiful, brilliant, very driven, but in many ways kind of the opposite of me. She really helps a lot in the kind of the writing and establishing the branding, and in that sense, very good with working with the clients, keeping things on schedules, but not big on the social aspect, the LinkedIn and those kind of things. That's my expertise. Yeah. I'm a little more of an extrovert and like some of these kind of loud options in our business. So we actually do really well. And we write back and forth as a writing team, which reduces burden on a lot of our customers, because the reason they hire you for branding is they don't know how to do it. No. Otherwise, they try to do it themselves, right? And so by doing that, we take a lot of the load off them once we get a good understanding, and we write back and forth, and it comes out with, I think, better content, better brand, better, things to move forward for that customer. And we enjoy that part.
It sounds like a perfect partnership. And of course, you're married. This is your wife.
Absolutely.
I worked in a business with my ex-husband.
Oh no.
He was my husband at the time, obviously. And I think one of the things about us actually is we worked really well together. We really did. We were this, like you described, we were this perfect partnership. I think the bit we got wrong is we didn't do anything but work. And so that was the bit that was getting missed in our relationship, which was sad. So I kind of know where that went wrong in essence. But when I did work with him, we did have a really fabulous teamwork partnership. And I see that must be the same for you and Dana.
Well, absolutely. And we try to do things a little differently. The beauty of the digital world is, if we're on the beach working, nobody knows. We don't tell them, right? So we're trying to do more of that kind of get out and experience more of the world, because you can, especially when it's, we work from home, you can get captured. You can get almost cabin fever, right? You're locked in. You could go a couple of days sometimes without going outside. We moved from a large house in a lake community to a high rise near downtown. No maintenance, right? Nothing to worry about. But it is a self-contained building. You don't really have to leave it to do anything. And, groceries come and food can be delivered. And so we're realizing really quickly we can fall into that capsulation a little too quickly, right? And it could go days. And so we're now trying to figure out, how do you schedule? And I always call it kind of a digital detox, right? A step away, take time, breathe the air, smell the flowers. You're walking your dog, and I think that's fantastic. That's the same kind of thing. It's that breakaway, right, that we all need to do more of. And so we're trying to figure out how do we get all that into the schedule? Because we stay extremely busy. We have incredible clients, but because it is about them, they're very demanding at the same time. And we also want to exceed their expectations. So we're very demanding on ourselves. And there's that old expression that the worst boss you can have sometimes is yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? And so sometimes we drive ourselves a little too hard. And so, those are the things that you kind of, if you see them, hopefully you can figure them out and get them all in order, right? So that things work perfectly all the way around and keep your life balanced that way. So
absolutely,
we're always trying to figure that out, but we're enjoying the process so far.
Yeah, and I actually block out time in my diary now, which is my me time. But unless I put it in my diary, things will just get booked in. And so I won't take that time. So it is every Tuesday, that day's blocked out. And some Tuesdays I work, okay?
Yeah, but it's your choice.
A bit of admin done and stuff like that. But I can easily then go and have a cup of tea with someone, or go to the beach if I want to, although the beach is miles away from me, Kevin. So I'm not going to get jealous of you, but it's miles away.
Oh, it's probably farther away here than you might imagine.
But yeah, so I think that's so important. I love your digital detox that you talk about when you tell us that in the Fab Four Club. Now, listen, there's obviously we have to talk about LinkedIn. And I know we haven't got forever in this podcast, but I would like to just touch on LinkedIn, because that's where we've met, which is, of
absolutely
course, wonderful. But the second thing about it is you're so knowledgeable about LinkedIn. You really are. You have a wonderful expertise around you. You keep up to date with it all. You're that go-to person. So I could come to you and I could go, right, Kevin, what am I supposed to do with this? Or what's coming next? Or what's happening that I don't know about? And our Clubhouse room is lovely in the sense of we've got that mix of our expertises in there, but also your LinkedIn knowledge comes in, and Stephen Quinn. Tell us about LinkedIn and how you even started to sort of become such an expert, I guess, in that space.
Well, you know, and again, it kind of goes back to, I love technology, right? And I joined LinkedIn actually twice. Once before 2005, but I lost access to my account. And I came back in February of 2005 and set up a new account, and then finally merged them later, but they only gave me the later account. But always was fascinated, even then, even though the platform was fairly basic, I saw just this kind of, again, this connectivity, this ability to find people I hadn't seen in a long time, you know, and be able to connect with them and find out what they were doing. And that just kind of built a passion. And over those years, the experience, the knowledge of how the site has, I guess, evolved, right? And how, you know, things are working code-wise, because I'm one of those who look into the subcode to see kind of what's coming next. And I've built relationships with people at LinkedIn that they'll talk to me to a degree, right? If I get too close to the truth, they stop talking, and that's when I know. And they know too. So they'll, okay, I can't talk to you anymore. But it's just a passion, right? You find a passion. LinkedIn to me is a passion. You know, I've touched other social media, you know, platforms, but none of them really grabbed me like LinkedIn. And it's that combination of business and social and sharing and caring and kind of everything else that you can build in the platform itself. And then sometimes the challenges that the platform provides on its own, right? By maybe not doing certain features correct, or not fixing things they need to fix, and you know, kind of getting excited about that and offering solutions. And I for many years I did beta testing for LinkedIn. Before they would come out with a feature. Now they don't really do that anymore, and I think that's a shame. Now they come out with a feature and just kind of throw it out there, right? And you got to figure it out as you go. But to me, that's also one of those challenges that I enjoy. So that's why I stay up with it. But if I just stayed up with it and kept it to myself, it might be an advantage. I don't know, but I don't know what I really do with it. I like to share that, and I like to make sure everybody else knows what's going on and how do you use it, kind of the pros and cons of it. Because what's amazing about LinkedIn as a platform is you don't have to use every feature.
No, exactly.
And you should be using features differently than I should, based on what are we trying to accomplish? Who's our audience, right? How do they respond? How do I feel comfortable building engagement? All those things are different. So the features we really have to think about, in the sense of they're going to be uniquely used, and you don't have to use them all. But it's good to know what they are, right? So that's the reason I try to share that and help people understand you don't have to try all this stuff, but know it's there and know how to use it, know what it doesn't do. And you know, that to me is exciting. And I guess I've always done that. And I've met some other incredible people that love to do that too. We're kind of LinkedIn geeks in our own sense. And you know, there's just a great community there, and we share a lot. And from that, we learn a lot from each other. And I think that's one of the best things that LinkedIn provides.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a really great community. And when you are working in this kind of lonely space of being an entrepreneur, because it is very lonely at times.
It can.
Then, you know, LinkedIn is that the bigger family that you have, your bigger business family that supports you, you know. And it's really nice now, because I've got several people, and you would be one of them, where I could actually directly message you if I was worried about something, and I know that you would be super supportive. And that's so lovely, because you know, it is lonely on the other side of things. And I think a lot
and sometimes you don't want to burden your direct friends, your direct family all the time with things that you're thinking, and you know, so it kind of gives you a kind of a safe playing field, right? That you can kind of figure out certain things. And I think that's a brilliant use of LinkedIn, you know, and I know we've all been able to kind of help each other out, you know, and go through these processes.
So I've got a couple more questions. One of them is like, who's the ideal type of customer that you work with, Kevin?
We usually work with people who are a little more techie because of who we are, right? we target both organizations and individuals. Organizations, again, are usually kind of mid-size, have a kind of tech focus, maybe not quite getting their branding where it needs to be, where people are understanding, what they do and what they deliver and how to bring, that value forward. And so we help them with writing, websites, writing content to bring into ads, writing scripts for videos, right? Those kind of things. So we help on that side. And on the personal side, it's really about creating the opportunity for people to understand that individual and maybe where they're heading in their career, right? And helping them in that process. So that could be anything from, profile optimizations to resumes, to bios, to coaching them how to publicly speak on a topic that they're passionate about, those kind of things. So all that kind of blends together, but it's always around branding, organizational and personal branding. And I always like to say that we take people from doing what naturally happens on LinkedIn. If you're not passionate about it, or even off LinkedIn, I always call it personal blanding, right? We do the easy stuff. We don't really define things. We just kind of say, oh, I can do everything. I'm a Jack and Jill of all trades, right? And of course, the end of that is master of none. Nobody hires masters of none. No. And it's getting people to realize that, and getting people to figure out and help them define, what that value is, and stop this. I can do it all. I can juggle any ball you throw to me. Now, companies still might want that, right? But it doesn't make a good presentation. No. So fine tune it, refine it, and better things happen because of that. Yeah. And, that's what we do and what we're passionate about, but we're looking for people who need that help. Yeah, absolutely. And, it's...
do they have to be in the US, or do you work globally?
We are global in that sense. And it's interesting where some of those opportunities come from. And again, would I be that global without LinkedIn? Probably not. I do have connectivity because of taking HA into 140 countries, but the clients now are coming to us based just on exposure within LinkedIn. And they're coming to us from all over the world. And it is interesting. We have fewer clients in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex than we do anywhere else.
Yeah,
right?
I'm the same.
Yeah. So I think that's, in a way, that's kind of fun, right?
It's huge fun. It really is. And I think I develop more as a person, because I'm working with people who may be from, different countries, different cultures, I think it's wonderful to learn even more and more about my expertise, if you like, it's great. I'm always growing. So obviously we'll put the links in for everybody to connect with you, Mr.
Truly
Kevin,
appreciate that.
Which will be fabulous. But just before we go, because I would talk to you forever. I always say that, but I really would.
We would do that.
We would. I want to just mention Clubhouse. We have an amazing room on a Monday evening in the UK, 8 p.m. Now, Kevin, reel off the times, because you're the expert at this.
2 o'clock Dallas time, right? Noon if you're in LA, and 3 o'clock if you're in New York.
You're so good
Hopefully
at
that
that.
covers everybody.
You're so good at that. 8 p.m. if you're in the UK, and 9 p.m. at the moment if you're in Europe, as I understand it. So that's as far as I can go.
That works. Amazing enough, we have people though that show up even from India, from United Arab Emirates, from Hawaii. I mean, to me that is fascinating that people even in the middle of the night go, oh, Fab Four and friends, I'm up. Yeah. I might as well jump in. And I think that's incredible. It speaks volumes of not just the Fab Four, but the friends. Yeah. There's just a unique formula that is happening there. What I love about it, if you go to any other room in Clubhouse, the mods are selling, right? They're selling themselves. They're selling their product. The people who come up to speak are selling them something, right? They want to close a deal today. Yeah. Yeah. The room that we have is about the people, right? Absolutely. And you do go back and you look at them and you go, wow, I could use that service, or I'm looking for someone to do that. And it's the perfect kind of, social selling environment in that sense that, it is a kind of a tribe that's building that really, really cares about each other. And that energy is there. And I guess it's we always say this, it's a great way to kick off Monday, right?
Yeah.
Or kick out Monday.
Which,
depending on what side of the
wherever you
clock
are.
you're on, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you need that because Mondays aren't the easiest.
No, they're
So,
not. And it is great. And so there's 4 of us who moderate that room. There's yourself, Kevin. There's obviously me from the UK. There's lovely Stephen Quinn, who is based in Ireland. And then there's Sonal Baal. I think that's Bahal, I think is how you say it. She might say that's very good, Jules, when she hears
and
it.
out of the 4, Sonal's the one who makes the most trouble.
She's terrible. She's very noisy. I'll make sure she listens to this. But she's actually Indian, based in Belgium.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's such a wonderful combination. Sonal is the HR lady. She's all around the HR world. Stephen's marketing world. I'm sales world, and your branding world. And isn't it great, that combination? It really is. And we've all met on LinkedIn. And now we all run this wonderful Fab Four and Friends room in Clubhouse. So I'm so thrilled that I met you. I'm thrilled we're now Fab Friends. And my last thing I always ask my guests to do is just leave us with one final piece of inspiration to take away from listening to this fabulous episode of The Human Conversation. So what you got, Kevin?
And it's probably comes right from this. Be kind to people. You never know what they're going through, right? And if you're at the table now, don't forget to help them get to the table as well. We have a tendency to do that. We network when we need something. And then when we've got it, we forget. Don't forget, and thorough believer in networking always beats not working. So do it, but even do it while you're working. It'll make a huge difference for you and everybody else.
Thank you. That's such a great way to end our fabulous conversation, Kevin. Kevin, I've loved it. I knew I would. But thank you so much for joining me.
I've enjoyed it and I appreciate it. And I love collaborating with you. It's fantastic. You've got the best energy and the best creativity. So that gets us fired up.
Oh, you're so kind. And you know what, listeners, what about Kevin D. Turner? What an amazing guy. Such a lovely man. So interesting. What a wonderful journey he's had. I hope you've learned something from this podcast. I hope it's inspired you. And please just like and comment on the platforms where you listen. And we're on Spotify and SoundCloud and Stitcher, all the S's. We're also on Apple Podcasts. And as a super bonus, you can see Kevin's fabulous face on YouTube, because I also publish this on YouTube. So thank you for listening. And please do join us again next time on The Human Conversation. Ta-ta for now.
You've just been listening to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White. To find out more about the other work that Jules does, please visit her website, www.liveitloveitsellit.co.uk. And if you enjoyed the podcast, then please do leave a rating and review on the platform you use to enjoy her show. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.